Welcome to the Poundcast, Brent,
Welcome to the.
my lovely, wonderful co-host.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean,
We're at it
I
again.
think
We're at it again. Here we go. Today we have a great show with Andy Wood. He won Jeopardy
four times
four times, but he was on five
episodes.
Jeopardy, and he happens to be a friend of ours. We didn't even mention this, but he started the Bridgetown Comedy Festival.
Right. We
And
didn't
that's
even talk about comedy at all with him
I
pretty
know
much.
it's kind of funny because the
But he's a
Jeopardy stuff
comedian.
was so fascinating.
He's a comedian and he started the Bridgetown Comedy Festival in Portland, Oregon, which is not going on anymore, but it went on for I think 10 years. Or not 10 years, but yeah, I think it was 10 years actually. And he's a
One of
friend
the best
and
comedy fests. It's like if you were a comedian, that would be the one to go to because it's just the funnest one, in my opinion.
it
Not
was
that I
fun.
went to too many, but that was fun.
Actually, that's kind of where
That
I
might have
kind
been
of
kind of where I
fell in
met,
love with
met
your
you early
comedy,
on.
actually. What?
I know I met you early on in Portland, but that was probably not
No,
the.
I met you originally in 2006, as we all know. We've
Yeah,
talked
I
about it
know.
many
I'm
times.
just saying one of the
But
times we actually hung out was
yeah, when I started to get to know you better, it was in Portland, and then what
it
I
was at
really
Bridgetown at that VFW hall. That's when you first
wasn't.
saw me, and that's when you were like, "All right, he's got the
No,
good."
that is where I fell in love with your comedy. But then
That's what I'm saying.
no, when we first kind of hung out more was it was actually at this Reed College show that I did
Yeah, I
that
know.
Andrew Rashawn set up when he was a student there.
Okay, whatever.
And
Andy
anyway,
Andy Wood he's a champ. He's a Jeopardy champ, and we find out all about Jeopardy.
yes,
And
and yeah,
what else is going on?
it's interesting. Well, look, let's just mention that this episode, as all episodes are, brought to you by Louisville Vegan Foods, Louisville Vegan Jerky, and you can go to louisvilleveganfoods.com and you can see all the different flavors there, and you can also. If you make an order on LouisvilleVeganFoods.com, you can use the code word Poundcast and you get 20% off. This jerky is hand-bagged in the United States and it has a shelf life of 9 months. And there's lots of fun different flavors and it's all meat
Brent, I'm on the
free.
website right now, and I have to say that if you sign up for their email to get on their email list, which is no purchase necessary, you will be you will be you will be signed up to win a Nintendo Switch. So you can at least go there and sign up for their mailing list.
How about
But
that?
you know what else they have on here? They have chocolates now, Whelpdale chocolates. Let's look at their some of their flavors they have here on the jerky side of things. They got smoked black pepper, maple bacon, buffalo dill, perfect pepperoni, smoky Carolina barbecue, sesame gochujang. Dude, they got some new flavors here. Man sweet chili, teriyaki, toppins variety pack. Anyway, they got toppins. You can get a gift card, all kinds of stocking stuffers, all kinds of holiday gift ideas there. And you get
Yeah.
20% off and you support the Poundcast. So let's go
And,
do that. Just go do it.
and you can also,
LouisvilleVeganFoods.com.
and if you don't want to go website style, you can go to Sprouts or Whole Foods or wherever you want to go and you can get that stuff.
That's right.
And another couple other announcements. Rockandpins.com now carries the Pound House official pin. That's an enamel pin, and it says, "Oh, you make dope beats" on it, and it has the both of us on there. If you're interested, so
Both of
check
our
that out
heads. You can wear both of our heads. Talk about a
on your
stocking
chest.
stuffer. That's a perfect stocking stuffer.
Sure is.
That's
It
that's
actually,
that's all. That's something under the tree, even. You know what I mean, Brent?
it even could be an ornament. You could make it on the tree.
Ooh, ooh. And you could wear it year round. You could put it on your hat.
You know what?
People
You can
put it
make
on.
it
People put
Christmas.
pins on their hat now. It looks pretty cool.
Christmas never ends when you wear the you make dope beats.
That's right.
Um,
Go to rockandpins.com. And speaking of Christmas and holidays,
well,
Brent,
as a
what else do we got
Patreon
going?
exclusive, we are having a Poundcast Hollywood holiday Christmas party or holiday party. I mean, and it's going to be a Zoom party, and it is for Patreon subscribers exclusively. So we're going to hang out, and it's going to be just a full-on party. Everybody's going to be on at the same time, and I might unveil Well, anyway, one little quick little thing there. But anyway, yeah, it'll be a little fun little time. So you can go check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Poundcast. You see how I get that so well?
Nailed it.
And yep.
Well, when you do that,
And
when you sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/Poundcast, not only, the holiday party is just a little bonus, but you also get extended Poundcast episodes. I know when you get to the end of one of these standard ones, you're like, that's it. Not if you sign up for our Patreon. We can keep going. Today we went almost an hour long extra with Andy.
we played Jeopardy.
We played Jeopardy. We found, we actually played Jeopardy. He destroyed us. I didn't get a single question right. Spoiler alert. But I was kind of being the Alex Trebek, to be honest. I wasn't really thinking.
Right. Doug was auditioning,
Yeah. And I would be a terrible contestant and a terrible host because, like, when I can't read things without repeating because I pronounce
Not
something wrong.
after I'm done with you. I'll whip you up in the perfect shape. You'll see. They'll all see. So go to that, and then you also can go. There's also little bonuses here and there on the Patreon as well. So check that out for extended episodes. You also check out our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/thepoundcast, and that has video versions of the episodes, and it also and highlight clips sometimes. And the highlight clips are made by one of our interns named Jack Birch. And there's also clips on the Instagram page, which is the Poundcast. And those clips are made by both Jack Birch and Nathan Pittman. Anyway.
And I would like to say one more thing. I have my own Patreon, patreon.com/DougPound. 2 G's on the Doug Pound. I've been putting up some old videos I made, like 20 years old videos and stuff. And, they're not good, but they're interesting.
Well,
some of them are
check
good.
This out.
I'm just digging in the crates, and I found a bunch of old stuff. I'm kind of like, I'm not going to show those to the World Wide Web. I'm just going to show it to my Patreon pimples.
Now check this out. You want to know something crazy?
What's
we
up
get all
with that?
these people submitting on Patreon. And also, by the way, there's a Poundcast Discord. Check that out, and you can check that out via the Patreon as well. Okay, now we get all these pimple submitted remixes of the Poundcast theme song.
That's right, Brent.
Guess what happened this week?
What happened this week?
I made one myself.
Oh my gosh, Brent! The Brent Winebox Poundcast theme remix.
That's right.
I can't wait to hear it. Can we hear it now, and then we'll talk to Andy?
We sure can. And just so you know, it's probably more of an interpretive cover than a remix, I guess. I don't know, but this is my own.
All right. Let's roll the clip, and then we'll talk to Andy Wood, the Jeopardy champ. Roll the clip. Welcome to the Poundcast champ, Andy Wood.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I will say that we went camping right after you won. Well, I guess there's spoiler alert. Well, I mean, obviously,
there's no
spoiler alert. It came out.
It's fine. Yeah, there's almost no way to watch it after it airs. So,
but yeah.
Also, it came
for
out
those
already.
who haven't seen it. You won a few times, and we'll talk about that. But you told us this epic tale of how the whole thing went down. So, I mean, should we start with some background about your history with Jeopardy first? Let's start with that.
Sure. Yeah, I was a lifelong fan. Like, I tried out for the team tournament back in '93. I drove from my hometown of Ann Arbor out to Milwaukee just for that, and I didn't even make it past the first round. So I sort of like gave up on my Jeopardy dreams. I was like, I guess I'm not Jeopardy material. And then 27 years went by. I mean, I've always loved the show and I've kept watching it, but I just sort of forgot about it as a thing that you could even aspire to be on. And then, to be honest, last spring when Alex announced his cancer diagnosis, I just rekindled my interest in it because I realized, he's probably going to be. I thought he would be retiring soon. I'm amazed that he's kept shooting this whole time. But I just really wanted to get on with him. As much as Jeopardy on it sounds amazing, I wanted to be on there with Alex Trebek, such a legend. So then I tried out a couple times. I think I took a test in last December and one in January. And I guess one of those came together well enough that I got to do a second round test, which was done. I'm here I moved to Joshua Tree when COVID hit, and I've been out here ever since. And I did my second round interview just via Zoom call like this, another 50-question test. And I guess that went well. And then I made it to this round where they had like 9 different contestants in a Zoom room, and they'd bring us into different breakout rooms 3 at a time and kind of test us out in gameplay. And then I was just in the contestant pool. That was like in May. And they said, there's 2,000 people in the pool for a given season. Yes, go ahead, Doug.
When you're in the Zoom, how do you chime in? Like, there's no buzzer, right? Like, you just blurt out or how does that work?
That is kind of a bummer because there's no way for you to practice what the real signaling is going to be. So they just wanted you in that Zoom call. By that point, they're not testing you anymore for how you are at trivia. They're just kind of like doing screen testing. So it doesn't really matter if you're accurate. They just had you hold up a ballpoint pen so they can see.
Oh, wow. Really?
When you're doing it. And then they just call on you. But again, you weren't trying to outplay the people in your Zoom call. They were just seeing how you are on camera. Right. So it's a bummer though, because then you didn't, in the regular pre-COVID time, that would have been an in-person test where you would have been, I think, using one of the real signaling devices and getting actual practice with that, which is like, turns out so much more important than trivia for Jeopardy, which I'd heard people say, but it's just unbelievable how much the game is about buzzing in more than it is about trivia.
Yeah, we got to get into that. But
yeah.
What's the clicker look like? I mean, is it a 40-year-old like analog thing with a cable on it? That's the same one every contestant's been using, since 1978 or whatever?
It doesn't look recent, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's been around for more than a decade. Because
the show, by the way, the show started in the 60s and ended in the 70s and came back in 84.
Right.
Okay, good, Brent, because I don't know the history there.
I mean, if you wanted to, even my earliest history is not even the 93 thing, but 84. When Weird Al in 3D came out, that was the first tape I ever owned. And I knew every word of all the songs on that, including I Lost on Jeopardy. Like I knew that song before I'd ever heard. Yes, Doug.
I would like to say that's one of my early favorite tapes too. Is that the one? Wait, it was either that or it might have been Dare to Be Stupid, but either way, Weird Al.
I want to say Dare to Be Stupid's 85 maybe.
And when was that one?
84.
Okay. Never mind.
No, I also had that.
I think I went into the back catalog and got that afterwards. I love Dare to Be
Stupid. But that had I Lost on Jeopardy, which I didn't find out until a few months ago. That album came out 6 months before the Alex Trebek reboot of Jeopardy. So that song was all about the Art Fleming era that Brent was talking about, with Art Fleming as host, Don Pardo as announcer instead of Johnny Gilbert. And if you watch the video, it has Art Fleming and Don Pardo and Dr. Demento in the video for Lost on Jeopardy. Anyway, so I knew every word to that song, and I always wondered why he says Art Fleming gave the answers instead of Alex Trebek. But I actually brought that tape with me to my Jeopardy taping, either as good luck or maybe in the off chance that Alex might have signed it, but would have been weird because it's not about his era of Jeopardy exactly.
What if he's like, get that Fleming shit out of here?
Fleming shit, yeah.
But to go back to the question, it was about the buzzer. Is the buzzer the same for the one from 1984?
It seems like it's probably decades old. It did not seem very recently updated. And I wonder if it's almost like how NASA has NASA's software is like the highest standard of software development, even if the things they're using aren't, well, it's probably the same in like aviation. Like equipment might not be updated every year, but it's like once they've got it to a level of rigor or of like security, they keep the systems in place that they have for a long time. You know what I mean? Because there's so much sort of at stake with Jeopardy money-wise. I would assume once they've got a system that's like robust and secure, they stick with that, which is also my only explanation for why the board that you write on is so impossible to write well on. When I know, touchscreen technology has come so far with just like, I'm sure you can get an HP laptop that's
So
100 times more responsive than that thing you have to write on.
the buzzer, it's wired. Can you describe what it looks
wired. Yeah, it's like the width of a. It's not as thick as a toilet paper roll. Thicker than a ballpoint pen, thinner than a toilet paper roll. And the plunger part of it, it doesn't have like a satisfying like click. It doesn't go to a certain point and then have a feel.
So you can't tell when it's going to connect there.
That's not a problem really. It just kind of like smoothly goes up and down with like a light springiness.
Wait,
describe that haptic feel.
Does the whole stick
Yeah, does it
go like this?
Like
or is it
this,
just
or
you pushing this?
are you like knuckles up or knuckles down on that clicker?
Or are you kind of are you kind of like this?
Right. There's two of them.
Yeah.
There's some people who say you should do this. I was just doing this. I probably should have kept it hidden so that you can't see it home.
Well, you probably had it. You probably. I mean, Andy, let me ask you something. Did you hold it kind of more like? Did you put one hand behind back of your head like this?
Sometimes,
kind of,
yeah.
Were you kind of like more like this?
Right.
And did you kind of close your eyes?
If I was feeling it, you could see sometimes I closed my eyes and I was really feeling it. Yeah.
Man, I had I had another question about that, but when I was a kid, my sister would play like Nintendo, and she would like move the. Did anyone go like ah? Does anyone ever do that where they're trying? You know what I mean? They're like.
They're not trying to guide. That's because of someone trying to guide a.
But I mean, they're trying to go to the board like I know clicker.
Yeah. I think I had some moments when I was like a little too like that too. I was like, come on, I'm going for it. And whenever I see that at home, when I see people just frantically, I'm like, these people must be dumb and they don't know that if you buzz in early, you're locked out. But now that I've been there and they actually tell you, once you've started pressing, just keep pressing because there's no harm in continuing to. So,
so let's explain that a little bit. This is something I didn't realize.
The locking out thing?
If you press it before, so how does it work with, you can't just click it if you know it from like the first word of the question.
You have to wait until Alex finishes.
Or the answer,
The answer.
Yeah.
The clue.
As soon as he finishes the answer, that's when you can buzz in.
But is there another clue, like some kind of light that says it's okay to click?
Yes. Yeah. So history on that, the first season of the Trebek era, they didn't have this rule and it made for very bad TV because people would just cut off the question instantly. So then from the second season on, you have to wait until he's finished giving the clue. And that's determined by some employee, some producer who, deems the question done, opens it up. And at that point, a row of lights you can't see at home is illuminated on the sides of the big board. A row of like white LEDs. That's what tells you can buzz in. But I mean, the bummer, those who watched my week saw that some days I was just really bad, or at least had players who were vastly superior to me buzzer-wise, and I never really figured out whether I should be trying to look at the light or trying to anticipate what that. Like I sort of just kept like overthinking. Which is my specialty. That if maybe you could get in the same mindset as the person who's listening to Alex, if you actually pressed it right when he released it, you'd have a slight advantage because otherwise, if you're reacting to a light, there's like a reaction time that nobody, no matter how fast, Usain Bolt still has like almost a fifth of a second delay from when the gun goes to when he starts. So like there's a built-in delay if you're going to wait for that light versus if you could somehow exactly match that employee's assessment of when Alex is done. But then I talked to my friend who ended up beating me. Spoiler alert, I'm not still on the show. And I asked what his strategy was because he doubled my efficiency at buzzing in. And he said he was just staring at one particular LED within that strip. He'd speed read the question, then just stare down one of the lights and just do that. So
what's the strip look like?
It's just a strip of vertical, like a single width, like tiny LEDs. Just a strip that runs the entire height of the board on left.
And they go right. and they go like it's going down like a start for like a race car race where it's like dude.
No. It's just boom. They're all on at once.
They just all light at once. Brent.
Brent.
If you were not answering a lot on your episodes, was that because you were not being able to buzz in faster than the other person, or was
100%.
it because you didn't know the answers?
No, I mean, I'm not bragging but the game I lost, there was a string of, I remember 8 questions in a row that I knew and I just couldn't get in. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, if you've gotten to that point that you're on the show, chances are, I bet everyone playing knows at least 75% of the questions. If you just open up the board and let everyone play alone, I bet everyone would get at least 75%. So it's really not about that once you're in the show. It's about buzzing in and it's about betting strategies.
Now, when COVID's over, are you going to go to trivia night at like a bar and just like step in there like?
Oh yeah,
like
you tell me you wouldn't? Of course.
Is everyone going to be like, oh,
I'm going to wear my Jeopardy hat.
Oh, you got a Jeopardy hat?
I got a tote bag and a hat.
Dude, can we see the hat real quick?
Yeah. Hold on a sec. Yeah. I'm in my underwear. I'm going to make sure I'm not.
The $100,000.
That's okay. This show is PG-13. We can see underwear.
The $100,000 was from your winnings, right? Not.
Oh, dude. Nice.
Did you said you were friends with the guy who beat you? You were friends with him?
Yeah, it was a really weird.
Before you go into that, we gotta start from the beginning because it all leads up to that.
Yeah, this is I'm telling the story.
So how did you prepare? How does one prepare to be on Jeopardy?
Well, some people tell you not to bother studying once you made it because it's already, your brain is like solidified or something. My friend who was also a champion said, "Don't bother studying. Just try to rest up and like." Practice the buzzer, which you can't really do at home anyway.
Wait, sorry, hold on, pause. Did they give you some topics to study?
No.
They give you some topics at all?
No.
Nothing.
So
to give you anything?
No. Come on, what?
So to prepare, you have to have a lifetime.
Show. That's like
you have to have a lifetime of just knowledge.
I mean, yeah, the show, I think it's people who are obsessives in life or in trivia and longtime fans of the show.
How would you even begin to study anyway? Would you just go through the encyclopedia and just?
No, he said. Okay, no, you told me about a technique.
Yeah, I just, and Ken Jennings says this also. If you want to do well on Jeopardy, watch lots of Jeopardy. So I watched every episode that was available to stream on any platform, and found other ways to watch some other ones. And then the easiest thing to do, or the best thing to do, is just go to the Jeopardy fan archive where fans have written down every question that was ever asked on the show. So 400,000 questions are on this site, and they're all arranged in the boards as they were on the show. Doug.
Now, didn't you also say something about like you can study like children's history books or something like that just to get like broad stroke knowledge about like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if it's a Shakespeare question, you'll know the main ones that you can probably
exactly.
Yeah,
that's what James Holzhauer would go to the library and just check out kids' books, but libraries aren't open right now, so I didn't have that as much. But like it makes total sense because you don't have to know. You have to have very broad knowledge, but not very deep. You know, for a given piece of literature, you're not going to be expected to know some tertiary character. You're going to be expected to know like the big plot points, a quote or two. Like the thing I always go to, because this seems to come up on the show a lot, is the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which I've never read. But I know it was written by Coleridge, however you say it. I know the guy, the ships in the doldrums, they shoot an albatross, it brings bad luck, and there's that water everywhere line. That's all I know about it, but that's all that's going to come up in Jeopardy. It's one of those three things: the author, the albatross, or water everywhere. So if you know that,
by the way,
Cliff
are you
notes.
a trivia buff?
Yeah, I'm a trivia. I mean, yeah, I've played bar trivia for my entire legal drinking age life. And my friends and I were the citywide champions in this bar trivia league in Portland. And I've written for some game shows. I wrote for this Xbox version of 1 versus 100 10 years ago. Yeah, I mean, I'll go to trivia nights alone. Like I was in Australia touring. I do a science podcast with Matt Kirshen called Probably Science. And we were on a tour of Australia. And one night I had nothing to do. And I just went to a Australian pub and played bar trivia alone and won. So it's pathetic, but also, yeah, it's something
cool.
I'm literally obsessed about. Yeah, I love trivia. I love Trivia Pursuit. I used to play the MS-DOS version of Jeopardy on my PC back in the late 80s, which was incredibly hard not in a fun, hard way, but just like you had to type everything exact because there was no like natural language processing at all. So if you didn't have every single letter or punctuation mark capitalization.
Case sensitive.
Yeah.
Did you are there certain subjects that are your forte, or what? Are you?
I mean, I have a science background. I used to be an electrical engineer. So the sciences, the level that they get into, I'm usually pretty solid on those. Anything but sports. I'm just awful at sports. And I guess pretty awful at like the British monarchy. Like there's some things that come up disproportionately in Jeopardy. So I tried to study those. Like Shakespeare comes up a lot. So you have to know all the major works, like what the main characters and sort of themes are. The British monarchy keeps coming up. And I all I can tell you is the War of the Roses was the House of York and the House of Lancaster. That's about it. And then like rivers, capitals, world capitals. I used a lot of kids maps that are interactive online to drag and drop countries into place. Like I was just like, I got to get Africa down. Like I've never known African geography. There's so many countries. So I spent a long time on that. I still fucked up the one African
You missed the Chad.
question I got.
You missed Chad.
Yeah, I said Ethiopia instead of Chad. Yeah.
Africa. I made it a point at one point. Oh, I don't know, several years ago, to just memorize every country in the world. And I had it down. I had every country. I mean, if you showed me a map, I could identify every country.
No way. Wow.
And I also knew at one point, I lose it though. If you don't keep it up, you lose it. But I had that down, and I had every capital of Europe down. And I think I had every capital of the United States down as well. And I can do all. I used to be able to do the entire map of the United States also.
I had to make sure I knew every state capital, because surprisingly there were a few that not surprisingly, whatever. And then I'd never known the presidents in order. So I listened to this podcast called Presidential, and I think I can't say them quickly, but I can like through context give all the, like if you give a year, I'm pretty sure I can tell you the president. I don't know. You want to try it?
1867.
1867. That's right after. Oh, it's Johnson, because Lincoln was just assassinated.
Okay, good, very good.
Yeah,
that is correct.
But then you also learn some fun stuff. Yeah, I'll take Central America for 1,000. Also, so my friend who said don't study, the night before I was on the game, I was doing this drag and drop with the Americas, because I'm like, I know Africa is a ton of countries. I'm not going to get them all, but I know
There's
I can
50 of them.
It's 50 in Africa?
Mm-hmm.
God, that's so many.
Well, it's as many states as, there's the same amount of states.
I've lived in a bunch of those though. But yeah, I was like, I can get North, Central, and South America. So I was just like doing a quick rehash of that and dragging and dropping countries and capitals into Central America the night before I taped. And then Central America came up and I had control of the board. I'm like, well, I'm going straight to 1,000 because I know it's going to be about Tegucigalpa, because it's just the most fun city name to say. And that's what it was. It's like Tegucigalpa is the capital.
Amazing.
And I was like, boom. And the next one was like about Lake Managua, and I've been to Nicaragua a few times. So I was like, oh,
what's Tegusta what?
Tegucigalpa is the capital of Honduras, and also the name of a Fruit Bats song I like a lot.
Doesn't that mean like
fun?
You love. What is that? Tegusta, you like?
No, Tegusta. It sounds almost like it's not Spanish, but it might be like a native language.
Spanish. Oh,
I don't know. I could be wrong. In a second.
Tegusta.
No, the way that it's
Tegusta.
Tegucigalpa.
Me gusto. Tegusta.
That means like it's not Spanish. It comes from the Nahuatl word, Tecuzlicalapan, meaning place of residence of the noble. It's not Spanish.
What did you do in Guatemala? Were you on a surf trip?
No, I was in Nicaragua on a surf trip. A couple different surf trips to Nicaragua. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what you were asking, studying. So yeah, I tried to study British monarchy, Shakespeare, presidents, world capitals, rivers, tons of just former Jeopardy, old Jeopardy games, because topics do come up again. Like it's never the same wording, but like you will have a question that's about the War of the Roses. It might be phrased as the Lancasters in New York fought in this. What is the War of the, or these two houses fought, like so topics will come up again, even if questions don't. Doug.
Now, what is the War of the Roses? Because I thought it was a Danny DeVito film.
It's also that, but yeah, it was like.
What's the real one?
The two different houses, two different families, like the Yorks and the Lancasters were fighting for control of England, and I think maybe over the course of you've gone past the level. All I know is the Jeopardy level, which is Lancaster and York. Brent, go ahead.
Do you feel like pub trivia is oftentimes harder than Jeopardy, or Jeopardy's harder than pub trivia?
I I think take the average question from the average bar trivia. It's probably a little harder than the average question from Jeopardy, because Jeopardy has to have so many that are sort of easy. But then again, it's also so much about learning the syntax, like being able to parse. Hold on a second. I just lost your window. Do I have to go? Where is that? Being able to parse the clue really quickly and get to the meat of it, because it's a unique phrasing. So just that's why watching lots of Jeopardy helps, because once you do that, you're
not going to ever
not fluff.
Yeah, you're not going to ever. I wonder how often that happens where somebody doesn't say what is or who is.
Oh, fun fact on that. You have a gimme, or you have a couple of gimmies. I think you can answer without what is for the entire first round, for the whole Jeopardy round.
Really?
But if you do it in double Jeopardy, you're dinged. So I know you have at least one gimme in the first round. It might be the case that you can go that entire round and never say it. I could be wrong about that.
Now, if it's a location, do you have to say where is?
I don't think they care what. Yeah, good question. I think you could do like how is Tegucigalpa, and you would still get it. I don't know if they actually care which question word.
But if it's a person, you got to say who.
No, I mean, well, there was a band in the band category. I think I watched it. I was like, sometimes I said, right. I think I sometimes said the band name with a who in front and sometimes with a what in front. Like I might have said, what is Portugal the Man, or who are Portugal the Man? I don't know. He's the man, but it's a band. I don't. Yeah. Also pluralization doesn't matter. So.
What if you did why? Is that allowed?
Why Portugal? Wherefore Portugal the Man?
Why is Portugal the Man a band?
Why is Portugal the man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why is he the man? Yeah.
Why is Portugal the man?
Yeah. That'd be funny if you responded with like weird cadence like that.
Right.
Yeah. Why?
Why? Why is Portugal the man?
Just be like, what?
Would it be allowed, Andy?
What is Portugal the man?
Yeah.
What is Portugal the man?
What is Portugal the man?
How?
Like you don't know. You're answering it like you don't.
Right.
Questioning it like a real question because you don't know.
How is the War of the Roses?
Right. Who that say go and beat them Portugal demand?
How was the War of the Roses? What if you go anyway?
How was it?
How was it?
How was the War of the Roses? What if you throw an anyway at the end? Anyway.
Yeah. If the clue was like not too bad actually, you could be like, how was War of the Roses?
So okay, what did you have to do to prepare?
So
not question wise.
Yeah, they tell you not to eat any solid foods for 48 hours before. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's a colonoscopy. Did
you practice this at all?
I did practice that. I don't know if it helped though, because
with just an empty hand or used a pen?
Well, when I would watch at home, I would do that at the end of the question and then say the answer out loud and put the what is, just so that became like second nature. And I heard James Holzhauer would do that, but also he'd be wearing his dress shoes that he was going to be wearing on the show. So he'd break in the shoes at the same time and he wouldn't be uncomfortable, which I should have done because I was
Holzhauer.
Who's James Holzhauer?
He's the guy who won a lot.
Jeopardy James. He
changed the game.
Yeah, he did change. He literally changed the game.
He started doing strategies that nobody's done before, right?
I'm talking. Well, the only one I know is Jennings. He's
Jennings is famous for the
longest run.
There's three different records. Three different guys have. Jennings might have won the most games. Brad Rutter's won the most money, but it was all from tournament play. And then Holzhauer has the single game record. And even his average was almost higher than the prior single game record. So he was on for like 20 or 30 games and averaged 70-some thousand per game, where for context, I averaged like 21,000 or 20.
He jumped around the board. A lot of people stay on one topic. This guy would go all over the place. He's looking for the daily double. He's going for higher value questions first, which people usually used to start. And did you use any of these tactics actually?
And that's what Andy did. That's what he did, right?
Initially, but there's some warring
of the roses.
Incentives, Roses, Lancasters, because the producers ideally they'd want you to like go in order because it's more enjoyable for the home audience. And there are categories that like have a rhythm to them, and there's sort of a narrative as it goes, and it's or sometimes a category is sort of cryptic, but it makes sense if you go down. So it sort of ruins that. But so the producers say, ideally we'd like that, but also it's your game. Play the game you want to play. So I'm like, this is a weird message. So I'm going to be pissing you or Alex off if I do this thing that James, the greatest player, maybe did. So yeah, his strategy, if you look at, people have done analysis of where the daily doubles show up, and it's almost always in the middle. There are 5 rows, and it's almost always rows 2 through 4. So he would go straight to the 5th row, the highest value, just to get a bunch of money, and then go hunting around the middle for daily doubles. And as soon as he gets those, always do a true daily double to double the current money you have. And the strategy for that sound, which is that like those questions daily doubles aren't put behind questions that are harder or behind clues that are harder. It's just done at random. So if you trust your own abilities in the show, which you should because you've gotten on it, you've got like an 80% chance or higher of, I guess in my run, I had over 90% correct in things I buzzed in on. So like, yeah, why wouldn't you bet to double your money? Chances are you're going to know this question.
So that's,
and you see a lot of timid bettors who just don't. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how you won that first game, because you had this hotshot incumbent.
Yeah. He was a better trivia player.
He was just destroying. I mean, he was like getting every answer, clicking in, winning. And you were down. And then you want to like walk us through how did that first one
Yeah.
went?
I mean, I just felt like I was on my heels that whole game because it was Monday morning, or the actual tape day was Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday, but it's the first episode of the week. So we tape five in a day. And there's a group of 10 of us in this waiting area, which by the way, and now that's COVID, our waiting area is the Wheel of Fortune stage because the green room and the Jeopardy stage is too small. So we're like sitting in front of this tarped over wheel, and this standards and practices lawyer randomly picks people 2 at a time. And my name comes up first. And I was just like, oh, because they also asked the people who were contestants to stay. I think they maybe decided this recently before my tape day because it was kind of like a bummer to have this no studio audience because of COVID. So since we'd already been tested and we're wearing masks, they had the other contestants be the audience. So I was hoping to just be in the audience for a game or two, get to like just comfortable with that. I don't know. I just thought it'd be better to watch a couple than.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're doing stand up, you don't want to just go first. You want to like watch a few and then get psyched up. Yeah.
You want to headline that. You want to headline Jeopardy, you know?
Yeah, you want to headline that.
So I got called up first and I was like, well, I'm going to lose this first game. Then I'm going to have to sit through 4 games in the audience, but whatever. And then we got up there and I was just like blindsided by John and, just couldn't get the rhythm down. When I did buzz in, I was getting things right. I think I only missed 1 that day. So I didn't, part of me, I was trying to, before I went on, be okay with the fact that I am likely going to lose. And I don't want that to be a thing that like breaks me. I want to be able to be happy that I was on the show with Alex. So I was trying to stay in that mindset. Like, I kind of just don't want to embarrass myself. I want to perform okay, but if I lose, it's fine. I can say I was on Jeopardy. So yeah, he's just killing me on everything. And I wouldn't have even been in the running, except I think I got a daily double in the first round and did a true daily double for like $5,000 or something. And so I doubled my money and got back in the running. And yeah, I was performing what I thought was fine, but I was losing to a better player who on the Friday before had turned in an amazing game as far as the Coriat scores, which is this thing that fans keep track of that doesn't take into account daily double betting, but just correct answers and their values. So by his Coriat score, he's one of the best players. In fact, the Reddit subreddit for Jeopardy said he might be the highest Coriat scoring player to lose after his first game. But all of his bets were like $1,800, $2,000 when he has a daily double, instead of just trying to like double the money he has, which based on how much he knows, he should be doing. So I was only in the running because he got a daily double and bet like 2,000. I got one and bet 5,000. So Final Jeopardy comes and I'm down. It's like, I don't know, 16,000 to 25,000. And I was thinking, whatever, this isn't an embarrassing showing. I'm fine with this. I can hold my head high. And the question comes up and it was something like 18th century Americans. At the eulogy for this person, someone said, or at the funeral for him, someone said, neither thunderbolts nor tyrants could stop him or something.
I knew
like,
this
tyrants,
one.
It seems like you did. Nice.
Well,
yeah, tyrants.
You told us the Final Jeopardies around the campfire.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And this is one of them I knew. And
yeah,
it was fun to
Thunderbolts.
watch. Do you know this one,
and
Brent?
tyrants?
What's the answer? What is?
Okay, again, it's 18th century Americans, and the clue is like at this man's funeral, someone eulogized that he could withstand both thunderbolts and tyrants, or something like that.
Mark
And
Twain?
18th century meaning 1700s.
Oh.
So the tyrants thing, a founding father.
I mean, I just went with thunderbolts, and I'm thinking it's got to be Benjamin Franklin because he did the kite thing.
Right.
And the other two people, the guy that was in the lead, he didn't get it right.
They both
Benjamin Franklin. That makes sense. Benjamin.
And then Andy drew a little kite on the thing. Now, when you use that little TV, do they give you a stylus or do you use your finger?
No, it's a stylus, and like I said, it's really hard. So that's why my handwriting is awful the whole week. Like they made me rewrite one of my wagers at some point because it was illegible. But yeah, once I got Franklin, I was like, okay, well, I can hold my head high. I lost with the right answer at least, and I'll put a little cute drawing, and this will be the end of my Jeopardy run.
So first, the third place contestant, she got it wrong, so Andy's already ahead of her. Then it goes to Andy. He gets it right. He gets like.
So now I'm at 26,000, and John has 25,000, and it goes to him.
It goes to the super answer guy, the guy that was just killing it.
Who's also, by the way,
I could see him like his face is like once it was turned out to be Ben Franklin, you could see him kind of die inside a little bit. He's like, oh, he knew it. He knew he was toast. By the way, you said. He said Thomas Jefferson or
no, they both said Washington. They both said Washington.
But you said who by the way is you were going to say, and then goes to the guy who
by the way is a Marine aviator. So he's like, after the game, people were texting me, he's like, you just beat Maverick. I'm like, oh, I guess. Yeah.
He's wearing his like military stripes. Yeah.
So the boards were not happy about me beating him because people were really like rooting for him to be the next. And he's a better trivia player than I am and a better buzzer, but it's just you gotta go big on those bets, like not knocking him at all.
He looks like an American hero if you look at him.
Yeah. Oh, he's a hunk.
Yeah.
You're a hunk too, though.
Well, thank you, but I mean, not a military.
But he had his
hunk.
stripes on,
Yeah, and I had awful clothing. Like I've been wearing shorts and flip flops all summer. I don't have any good clothes, and in COVID times, you can't even really go regular clothes shopping. Like you can't try things on. So
what did you? Yeah, so I know I already know this. What are the clothing requirements for Jeopardy?
They call it like what you wear for a work interview. So I just went to Nordstrom Rack and I just like got armloads of things that I was going to return because I just didn't want to. I'm just bad about clothes. Like, this was stressing me out almost as much as trivia the few days before because I just didn't want to look dumb, but I also just didn't have the inclination or ability to. Anyway, I just got like a dozen shirts, 3 sport coats, a bunch of ties at Nordstrom Rack, just this big pile of stuff.
And because that they record 5 episodes in a row, you had to have 5 different outfits.
Right.
So it looks like ostensibly it's a different day and you're
right.
Look.
And I know, so it sounds cocky that I'm bringing those, but they ask you to bring 5 changes. So so I just didn't want to think about it. I just overbought and I was like, I'll return whatever I don't use. And if I win a game, then I won't feel bad about cutting the tags off a new jacket or whatever. And I left those clothes just in like a pile in the seating of the audience of Wheel of Fortune. And I thought I'd come back and like some wardrobe person would have like picked out the best pairing of them and like steamed them. But you come back, as soon as you come off stage, you're just instantly rushed back across the studio lot to this other building by Jimmy from the Clue Crew, because he also does contestant coordination when they aren't shooting video things, which COVID precludes. So I'm just like in a daze. I can't believe what just happened. The guy who's unmiking me, as I told you, Doug, as soon as you leave the stage, everyone starts calling you champ, which is just like the most surreal. No one's ever called me champ, not sarcastically, in my life. So like the guy who's taking off your mic is like, all right, champ. And then Jimmy's like, okay, champ, come with me, champ. I'm like, all right, I could deal with this. But then you rush back and there's like no time between the shows. So they just want you to change quickly. And I forgot what like sort of you didn't have a real green room as you might in non-COVID times. So it's just, the whole thing was very hasty. And I'm like, I don't know, does this go together? And then someone has to like take a picture and text it to someone else to be like, is this going to moire on screen? Because there's a pattern. Just, yeah, the clothing thing was, And then like Jimmy I put on a different jacket one of the times that Jimmy is like helping me cut off the tags. Cause like if you ever bought a jacket or sport coat, like they have all these tags, you forget they like things everywhere that have to be cut off. So like as we're rushing to get back to the stage, he's like hastily cutting things off of me. Everything's just there's no time to just like collect yourself and get ready for a new game. You're just speedily changing and rushing directly back to set.
Trebek's like,
and
10 minutes, we're going live again.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably 10 minutes is all it was. I mean, maybe it was a little more, but it just felt so hectic. And I'm just still trying to process what just happened. And like this bizarre COVID things, like there is a makeup person, but he's in like a hazmat suit, a mask, and a face shield. And in this little makeup table in front of the Wheel of Fortune wheel, he just gives you a quick once over with you have to keep your mask on, then you take it off for 1 second. You can't talk. And he does the powder puff, puts that in a baggie, puts that baggie in a Ziploc bag, hands that to you. And then it's your job the rest of the day to do your own makeup. So everyone has these baggies at their feet at the podiums. And every commercial break, you have to lean over, pick that up, and then he'll come like 10 feet away from you in the suit and point at parts of your face that you have to then do. Yeah. It was so weird. That combined with the empty audience, like the no sound, no applause, no laughs. It's just so surreal. But yeah, so I'm speedily changing clothes, go back to the next game. Brent.
Just going back a little bit, 10 minutes prior to this, when the leader gets the answer incorrect, and you thought he had it probably.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as he reveals George Washington or whatever, did you think, what did you think emotionally?
It wasn't real. You could see the look on my face. I just have this silly grin because I just realized I won Jeopardy. And I was like, oh, this is the best thing that's ever happened in my life. It's like to have Alex say, Andy Wood, you're a new champion. It's like, I can't think of anything cooler than that's happened in my life.
My God. Did you start shaking?
I don't know about shaking, just the giddy smile, just the smile that I think,
did you get aroused at all sexually?
A little bit sexually aroused.
I mean, I'm being serious, actually. Did you get turned on in any kind of weird way? Like, did you feel so joyous that you got hard a little bit?
I don't know about that. There's tons of adrenaline, though. Tons of adrenaline, which also, by the fifth
And then
day,
Jimmy had to come in and be like,
body...
Did your heart start pumping real hard?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Actually, were there any moments in that first game when your heart was pumping pretty hard?
Yes. And actually my battery, let me plug in real quick. It'll be 2 seconds. So I grab my cord isn't here. 1 second. Sorry.
No problem. So Brent, I was thinking we should
play Jeopardy.
Maybe maybe after dark, we could do some trivia with him, with all of us.
Very good. I love it. Great idea.
Actually, I put on Instagram that Andy was going to be here, and I said, "Do you have any questions for Andy?" And we have a ton of questions, so we can get to that too, or we can do that afterwards.
Well, we still got a
lot of stuff to discuss here.
Okay.
Anyway,
so I got my charger.
My question is, did you you didn't feel so joyous that I forgot. What did we leave on?
Erections, I think it was.
Brett, no, he did not. He did not have an erection. We can move on from this awkward question.
Heart pumping.
I'd tell you if I did.
The heart was pumping. Yes.
Yeah.
But was there a moment where you thought you really got pumped?
I mean, I guess when I got a daily double and got it right, like that's just a fun thing. It's all these little check bucket list things for a person who's loved Jeopardy their whole life, like being able to say true daily double, Alex, and getting it, which I think happened in that game.
You weren't nervous about Final Jeopardy. I mean, when you wrote your answer, you were pretty confident about it.
I mean, I wasn't nervous about trivia in general. I was nervous about and frustrated about the button. That was the new twist. Everything else was like what I expected, or better than I expected, because I did luck out. Like when I play all those past games on the Jeopardy fan archive, like I played a lot of full games, but I also just did literally hundreds of just Final Jeopardies because I wanted to get a sense for what my percentage is on those. And my percentage was only like 65 or so. So for me to have a 5-day run and get all 5 Final Jeopardies was just very dumb good luck in what they happened to pick for those 5 days.
Walk us. Go ahead, Brent.
Do you attribute your loss to the buzzer purely, or what?
mean,
We're
it's
gonna
just
get
the
to
knock
that.
on Charlie. Okay.
We should go through and get to the
You also asked about the last day friend. So this is before we tape, a week before the COVID test. I'm sitting in this parking garage on the Soda lot in Culver City, and suddenly I hear someone say, Andy. And it's like, oh, Charlie Fonville's sitting over here, who I worked with on this pilot for Spike 3 years ago. And then the producers see us talking. They're like, oh, we have to have you sign these waivers now because you guys know each other. We can never put you on the same show. But we were on the same tape day. So we show up there and we're like joking in the Wheel of Fortune stage. Like, well, I hope neither one of us sort of runs the game all week and keeps the other one of us from being able to be on. Ha ha ha. And that would come to pass in a little while. But you had a question before that, Doug.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just walk us through. Well, before we get to this question, you say you worked on a Spike show. You mentioned some other things, and you have a science podcast. So when you work on other shows, you are, just for a little background, you're a writer on these shows?
Yeah. Yes. I have.
What kind of shows do you write on, and how did you get into that?
It's a mixture of comedy and science. So I used to be an engineer, and then I haven't done that in 15 years, but I've been doing stand-up for that whole 15 years. So I get comedy work when I can get it, but like the fact that I have the science background seems to be more reliable in getting work because it's kind of a rarer skill set. So like recently I've been writing for, there's a YouTube original called Could You Survive the Movies? It's hosted by, or stars Jake Roper from the Vsauce science edutainment YouTube channel. So that's like trying to use real science to look at things that happen in classic movies like Ghostbusters or Back to the Future. Like if there was this giant marshmallow and he stepped on a car, would it crush it, or would the density of that marshmallow not actually? So that kind of stuff, which is really fun.
Sounds like Ghostbusters, Brent.
What's that?
Right.
What did I say? Did I not say Ghostbusters?
No, me and Brent pitched a show a long time ago called Jokebusters.
Oh, Jokebusters.
Where you like scientifically see if jokes would work in the real world. But anyway.
Or like socially test them out or something like that.
Right, or test them out. Yeah, just run them through.
I like that. But then also like this spring I wrote for a sci-fi thing that was just comedy called The Great Debate. That was like a nerd debate show, a panel thing that lets people, argue who would be the worst boss to work for, Vader or the Joker, stuff like that. But yeah, a mixture of comedy and science stuff.
Cool. So, okay, walk us through the next games.
So then the next game, I think I had an early lead, but maybe started to like lag in Double Jeopardy. But then at the very last question, it put me over into being more than double what the second place person's score is, which means you can't be caught in Final Jeopardy. It's a runaway victory. And you could see the look on my face when Alex, as impressive lead, I look at the board, because to see the scores, you have to look up to the left of the board to this smaller display.
See what the other people have.
Yeah. So there's a moment when I realized like, oh, I just won this game also. But it also means you can't bet very much because you can never put yourself within striking distance of that person. So
Did
I
you
can
just
only
do
bet
it as a
1,000.
baller move and say all in?
I mean, that would have been in retrospect.
just to dunk on them?
Yeah.
To win more money.
Win more money too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one was a runaway, but not a huge.
Did you not bet or what?
Yeah. Did you bet
I
within
bet,
that range?
I bet the most. So if I lost, I would have $1 more than double the second place person's score.
Wow.
Which is really the only way you can do it, because if you risked them passing you, that would just be. Even if you get the more money.
What was that wager, and did you get the question correct?
I bet $999, and the question was it was French literature. In this 1863 book, the author described this character as so mean that he would arrest his own mother, something like that.
Let me think.
Oh, would it be Scrooge?
Go ahead.
That's a good guess, actually. But think arrest, he's actually an official.
Wait, Scrooge?
That's the character. The book would be like.
Except it's French.
That's Charles Dickens, and that's
French.
English.
Yeah, French literature.
Charles Dickens is English.
Right.
So you're in good company.
That's why I'm not on Jeopardy.
My dad texted me that a friend of his who is a lawyer, not that matters, also guessed Scrooge. Anyway.
Really?
But yeah, so it was. I knew it was Les Mis.
Yeah, I was going to say Les Miserables. Yeah.
Oh yeah, now you're going to say it.
I swear I was going to say it, but I didn't want to. I don't want to
Just say it. Take a shot, Brent.
I was going to say Les Miserables. I swear on it.
But the character, you got to go with
Right.
the character though. So which character is it?
Gaston or whatever the hell. I don't know.
That's the thing is like I never read it, and I've only seen it once.
I saw the musical.
I saw the musical too, but I saw it like 30 years ago when it was in Detroit, and the soundtrack got played a lot around the house around when we all saw it. So I remembered that line when he's like, "It is either Valjean or Javert," and that kept going through my head because I know the two guys are Valjean and Javert, but I forgot which one is which. And then eventually I'm just like, oh God, what are their first names? Okay, Valjean, it's Jean Valjean. And Javert's first name is Inspector. Okay, it sounds like that's all I know is Inspector Javert. So he must have been the one doing the chasing and arresting. So yeah, put down Javert, got 21,000 or so.
Oh, you got that right. That's amazing.
He deduced it.
And then the second place guy wrote Jobert with a B or something. I mean, I think he knew it, but like, I don't know if that's a different translation of it or something. And then, Alex is like, you won again. And now I'm just like, okay, this is just crazy. And then I remember like walking back with Jimmy, who's, trying to keep it moving quickly back to the Wheel of Fortune stage. And I'm just like processing it. And it's his job. So he's not as, excited as I am. I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? Did I just win 2 Jeopardies? I can't believe this is happening. He's like, yeah. Okay, get changed. And I think that was the time we had to start cutting tags off things. All this stuff's starting to run together now. Oh, I guess the third game then, when they drew the players, I was really sweating because this woman, we also did a little dress rehearsal thing, not like a trial run where you have like 2 minutes of play on the stage in the morning to feel out the buzzer, which wasn't enough time for me to get the feeling that I learned it. But you could see everyone else playing it on the monitors in the Wheel of Fortune stage. And the woman who they drew for my third game was by far the fastest that morning. So I was like, oh, well, this is the game I definitely go out because she's way faster than I am. And also great at trivia. And that game was, I was sweating that whole time because I think maybe I had a lead at some point, but she was destroying me in double Jeopardy. And I was down at the end of that. And then I ended up in this weird place. Also, if you look on the fan boards, there are different like terms for different betting strategies and different situations you can end up in. And I was in this weird thing called Stratton's Dilemma, where the person in second place doesn't have an amount of money that lets them like bet in a great way to optimize against possible victories and losses from the other 2 players. So I spent forever trying to decide my wager. Interesting fact, you don't have a time limit on placing your wager. They'll let you take as long as you want to think about it. So I just I would step back up to the podium because you step back with like a pad and paper and do your math and then walk up when you're ready and enter it. And like, I did that like 2 or 3 times. Cause like, no, wait, I got to think about this some more. And then I ended up doing a bet that like people at home thought was weird because if I get it right, I still have less money than first place has currently. But I also knew she had to bet enough to cover more than double mine. Cause there's no way she's going to put me in a position to catch her. There's just, you wouldn't do that. So then when the question came up, which was geography, I guess, this island nation is named for a Spanish king whose name means lover of horses.
I know this one too. I remember at the campfire, I got this one right. Brent should know this of all people.
Oh, good point. Yeah. So I know hippo is horse. Like hippodrome is where horses run, and a hippopotamus is a water horse.
And wait, let's see if I can get it.
Okay.
You give me a hint by saying hippo, right?
Well, that's So hippo is horse.
Another big old hint.
Love is
Brent should know this.
Philo is love. Hippo is horse.
The Philippines.
So that came to me at the last second.
You gave it away already.
Yeah. Well, no, because I thought of those 2 things and I was like, what country starts with hip? Because I was sure it was going to be that. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should think of the Phil part first. And I was like, well, it's Philippines, but that's for Philip. There's no way Philip means. And I was like, oh, I guess the name Philip means horse lover,
like
which is a
Phillies.
Weird thing.
Think about the Phillies. They're a horse, right?
Well, that's unrelated. That's coincidental because the Phil part means love. The hippo part means horse. So I don't know why
I just
horses are called
Philippines
Phillies.
because I know of all those Pacific Islands that one is named after like a Spanish king.
Right.
That's the
It was
only
a
one I
Spanish-
know, so that's why I guessed it. Like,
It was a
Right.
Spanish colony
Right.
for
Right.
a long time, and that's why
Spanish
Filipinos
names
are
of, like,
basically the Latinos. They're basically the Mexicans of Asia.
like Marcos. That's not a very that's a Spanish name. Anyway, that's not how I got to it. I got to it from the Philip thing, but then it's also weird to just in that moment realize like, oh, Philip means horse lover, which is so weird. Anyone names their kid Philip, given that's what it means. It's literally just
Well,
horse
any
lover.
Phil you know is a horse lover.
Yeah,
Well, you ride on a horse, you're like a kingly kind of person, you know.
yeah, but it's just such a specific trait to name your kid after.
We got to
Anyway.
update these names, because horse lover, it doesn't really mean probably like romantically. It probably just means someone that likes horsing and horsing around and riding horses.
Horsing around,
so like,
horseplay.
you got to have a new name that means like for a son that's into cars, like
Yeah.
Otto, AUTO or something.
Phil,
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Phil Otto, that's funny. But Doug, you probably said this already, right? But Phil Hip, like that's like
Filippo is the original. Phil
You're
Hippo.
like a Phil.
Yeah.
Phil means you're
Love, like Philippine, or like Philadelphia's brotherly love.
anything.
Philanthropist, lover of people.
Yeah, exactly. Phil and then Hip. You love horse. That makes sense. Phil Hip.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Okay, so Filato, it would be like,
Love cars. Yeah.
and then Fellatio could be another name even.
Or,
yeah.
anything, or hippophile, that would be the same kind of thing. Like hippophile is the same thing as
It's
Philip
Philip.
in a sense.
It is. Yeah, that's actually what I was like. Is there an island nation called Hippophile? And then the woman who was beating me all game, she had just written "What is hip" and stopped writing because she was going through the same thing. And like my handwriting is awful, and I'm sorry, Brent. I misspelled Philippines. I doubled the P, not the L, or the opposite, doubled the L, not the P. But I was just
Sorry, Brent.
frantically trying to get that in. So then that's the third game.
Well, sometimes people say write Filipino, and they write it with a PH, which is wrong.
Oh, yeah. Why is it that it's F when it's an ethnicity, but
I don't
P is
know.
a
It's just
country?
some weird thing.
Yeah. But that was the third one, and then the fourth game.
Brent, real quick, when you were like a teenager, did they call Filipino kids flips? And is that a derogatory term?
Yeah, it's a derogatory term. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Because I think I had
Flips,
Filipino friends that I think they were like saying that they were flip. That
Well,
sounds
no,
kind
there
of
was-
cool. That's
well,
like a cool
Yeah,
like.
I mean, look, there was a Filipino gang called Flipside.
There you go.
When I was in junior high, and that was, it's like they're kind of using it. You know what I mean? But
Wait,
it
so
is
Busta Rhymes is Filipino? That's weird.
Flipside. There is a
Isn't his thing called the Flipside Crew or something? I don't know.
flip is a derogatory.
Sorry, we got to
term.
get back to Andy here.
You don't have to. I mean, like
Yeah.
I'm just going through games you can watch.
I guess
you
it's
can't
kind of
watch
like
them
saying
online, but
it's kind of like saying NWA or something like that, or you know what I mean? Like if you say, "Oh yeah, I'm in Flipside."
it's
Where you
taking
from?
back the formerly derogatory term. Or something.
So carry on.
Oh, I was just running through the games. We don't have to go through. Like the fourth game, I think I was in. I
Flip mode,
wasn't
sorry.
doing as badly.
Just to clarify, I got that wrong. It's
Flip
Flip
mode.
Mode Squad.
Oh.
Back to the show.
Andy, are you just at this point after you won the third game? Did you think I can't believe I beat that woman who was so fast?
Oh yeah, the first and third games I was behind in Final Jeopardy and playing against better players, both buzzer wise and trivia wise. So I was just I was very okay with how I was going to lose because I should have.
Do you
lost.
feel like it was a fluke that you kind of won?
Oh yeah.
You got as far as you did.
Yeah, I mean, I think now that if I do get back in the tournament of champions, which is possible but not a lock, I think I have a better strategy for I'm just going to do that thing of just staring at one of the lights, speed read the question, then just stare down one of those LEDs and fixate on that for your buzzer.
That's hard to concentrate when the host is going to be saying the thing, right? He's saying it, and you're trying to go faster than what he's doing,
But it's
Or she.
actually that was a fun thing about it because who knows what the host will be. And by the way, the biggest thrill of all this was I'm not just saying this, like getting to be on stage with Alex Trebek and like interacting with him. Like that's just he's been in our lives for almost my entire life, and so sad and incredible that he was taping with this grueling schedule up to 10 days before he died. Like he doing these 5-a-days, and in between episodes, you'd hear him talking privately, but audibly to the director or stage manager who would just be like, Alex, if you need to, you don't have to do this. And he'd be like, nope, we're gonna, like, you could tell he was not, it wasn't easy for him, but once the cameras were on, he's just such a pro. In the 5 games I was on, he only had to do 1 pickup. Like everything was just perfect out of the
So
gate.
you mean off when they weren't rolling, you could see, oh, he seems really weak. But then
Not
when
weak, but like he's just emotionally, you could tell it's a hard schedule. He gets there at 6 a.m. He reviews all the games and does his own research to make sure he knows things about like he doesn't want to talk about something that he wouldn't have something else to say about. Like I watched that 2020 documentary about him, and he loves that game and cares a lot about it. And his days are long. And he kind of joked about like, he's like, yeah, why can't we go back to 1 a day, which they probably never did. And he also like lamented the fact that there wasn't an audience. He's like, this is like kind of more fun when there's people here, but we make do. And it was just a bummer because like this should have been his victory lap year. You know, this season should have been this love fest with the audience there. I'm sure they would have been giving standing ovations every day, and it would have been just so cool for him to be able to see how loved he was instead of having these empty COVID audiences. But yeah.
Did you get to see him do any of those savage moments? You know, like that reel where he's like saying stuff?
Trying to think what the meanest. I mean, it's funny because he's not always like, he has to keep the thing moving, you know. So it's he's a professional first.
What are the little get to know you questions that he threw at you?
The first
that
one
was
about
probably,
my podcast, but they're not pre-produced in the sense that you know what they're going to be. He decides in the moment which of the 4 or 5 he's going to ask you about.
Oh.
So the first day was about the podcast. Second day was about what kind of stuff I write. And I gave a very short answer because the person next to me had just read aloud this long, whatever. I just didn't want it to be a long thing. And then the third day might've been Guilty Treasure, that music comedy show I do with Brian Cook. I got to plug that, but not by name. You can't plug things by names. So they asked me, does it make any money? And I said, not really, but we charge for tickets. And I shouldn't have said that. It's like, well, no, you can't actually say the name of it.
You should have said, what is no money, Alex?
Yeah. I mean, really, it was no money, so I should have been able to say it. But and then one of the days I talked about the Masters swim team I'm on. And one of the days was, what other things do I like to do? I can't remember now. I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you notice an uptick in people visiting your stuff after these shows aired? I mean, you know,
last week I still have messages I haven't. Yeah, it was insane. And also just like that you have to like keep track of texts, Instagram DMs, Facebook messages, Twitter DMs.
So but your podcast though got more listeners.
Oh, no. I didn't think it would. No, I mean, because like that's a different level of.
Well, I'm talking about something else. How about did the honeys start hitting you up hard? We can go after dark with that question. We could save that for after dark, but.
If you want to, we could do either one. It's interesting.
Let's
interesting stories.
Because I got a ton of other questions here that we should be on the main episode real quick.
We could go a little long on the main one.
Oh, you know what? I just checked my stats. Yes, I'm sorry. We did have a big spike in the episode we put out on Saturday.
Oh, you did? Okay, there you go.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Is Max kind of thinking? Okay.
Run us through. Did we get through the fourth?
The fourth one was. I think I was in the lead most of it, and it wasn't as terrifying.
Did you think in that episode, all right, I got this one?
I mean, like really after the first win, I was just like, I don't care what happens because I got my one Jeopardy win. Like you can't take that away from me.
The fourth one, you're not like, I'm Ken Jennings up in this ass.
No, I was more just like loose. And I'm like, no matter what, I'm just going to keep betting big. Yes, Prince.
Did you, going back to the Alex Trebek thing, did he, when he was talking to you off camera, did he appear different than when he was on camera?
There wasn't really any time. There was a very brief during the credits talking off camera, and it wasn't that. It's not like he suddenly let his guard down and it was super, super chummy. It was still, it was very nice, but it wasn't like he's like, all right, let's cut the shit. What do you guys think about it?
No, what I mean, I meant like just as far as his health goes. Was it more?
I think he actually looked healthier this year than some of the games last season. I thought he looked more ill, but like if I hadn't known he was sick, and if I hadn't heard what he said in between episodes or in commercial breaks, I wouldn't have guessed he was sick. Like he was really.
One other
sharp.
thing, real quickly, was that were you? Was this a very emotional experience for you? And did you get really emotional when he did pass away? And did you cry?
I don't know if I I mean, it was a very surreal, trying to process just this person I'd just seen who seemed healthy, even though you knew they weren't. And it was very sad. I'm not sure I actually cried, but it was just super sad. Yeah, obviously.
Did you cry at all because of this experience?
I don't know if I'm trying to remember the emotion of like getting in my car at the end. There's just a huge adrenaline dump at the end of these 5 days. I've been up at 4 a.m. to get to the studio in time. So it was a long day, no crying, but like,
what was the final Jeopardy question on episode 4?
This breed of dog was originally called Alpen dog.
I know the answer, but I think
husky
at the campsite.
Think about the Alps. What can you pick? What's the stereotypical dog of the Alps?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's the Jack London dog, right?
Well, that's more like Alaska, right? The Alps in Europe.
Okay.
Picture if you're straight. What's a dog you want to have come at you if you're stuck in a dog?
Saint Bernard
runs around with some rum around its collar.
Saint Bernard.
So all 3 of us got that one, but I was in the lead, so I kept that.
Did you bet a lot for that, or what? Trying to take it easy because
Oh no, I had to make sure not to bet so much that I couldn't. Or I had to bet just $1 more than double the second place person's score to make sure he couldn't pass me.
Okay, so final game. What went wrong, and how did this empire come crumbling down?
Well, final game. Very surprised that after having to sign that waiver, they still put my friend Charlie at the podium right next to me. I guess they didn't want to have to bring up an alternate last.
So you could sue them. You could sue them, and then get more money. Because they're not supposed to put these 2 people in the same show that know each other.
I forgot what the waiver we signed said. I hope it doesn't say I can't talk about all this stuff. But but then I thought about it afterwards, and I'm like, I don't even know if you did have a friend on. I don't even know how you would game the system to your advantage.
Right.
I can't even think of a way that you collude with someone to anybody's advantage. Like, there's no way to take other players' money. So, and watching how we played, obviously we weren't teaming up because we were neck and neck, except when he would get in these tears of just getting way more. And then I didn't get any daily doubles. No, I'm sorry. I got 1 daily double in the first round, and I did the true daily double with 5,000. And that's the only reason I was even close, because he had twice the buzz-ins that I did. Then I think he got a big daily double in the double Jeopardy. But yeah, he was up 14,000 to 25,000 to 14,000 going into final, just because so many things I couldn't get in on. And I don't know how much of it was I was starting to second guess whatever strategy I had for timing on the buzzer. So I was overcorrecting by going earlier or later, because the other bummer is you have no feedback. So you don't know if you're not getting in, you don't know if it's because you're early or late. So you could start to correct in the direction you're already bad. You know what I mean? You might be like, oh, I'm going too late. I got to go earlier. It's no, you were early to begin with and you didn't know that. So it's just, I started to get in my head. But this time I had back surgery a year ago and my back is still not great. So I have this disc that pushes on my sciatic nerve. So my leg is going numb from standing up all day. I'm trying to kick it out to the side to get feeling back in it again. And I'm just adrenaline wise, just getting drained. And I'm looking forward to going home. I did not throw it at all. I tried hard. He did not.
So did you get the final Jeopardy question right?
Yeah. So the final Jeopardy question was musical theater, and I bet enough to get ahead of him if he gets it wrong. And so it was when it premiered in 1980 or 81. This musical, they decided to take the word "practical" off of the title of this musical.
I know this one.
Yeah.
I'll let Doug.
Practical Cats.
Yes.
Are you serious?
That's funny because Jordan Morris, I was watching on Zoom with,
and kidding. Why would it be called Practical Cats?
Morris.
It's a T.S. Eliot
right?
thing.
But Jordan Morris was watching it watching on Zoom with me, and he sarcastically said "cats" also. And I was like, "Oh, you knew that?" He's like, "I'm kidding. It's not cat." I'm like, "Yeah, it's cats because it's from that T.S. Eliot book, Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats." Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but also, the year does help with that a lot. If you know,
right. But also, I think that's a pretty common bar trivia thing is what's the name of the book that Cats is based on? I've heard that come up a lot. Or who wrote the book that it's based on?
T.S. Eliot, yeah. What I was going to say was there any questions where people got it wrong and you thought, I can't believe they got it wrong?
No, I was really surprised. I don't know if this is just because I was in person, so I don't have the best, not distance enough, but it seemed like all the players this week, as far as answering goes, there weren't a lot of triple stumpers. There weren't a lot of wrong answers. But maybe that's what it is these days in general. Because people were like wondering if the fact that it's mostly contested or all contestants from Southern California was going to change the quality, because they didn't want to fly in people because of COVID from other parts of the country. So it's also why.
So that helped your chances of getting on because you're local.
I mean, yeah, I might have gotten on because of COVID. Who knows if they would have cast me if it weren't for COVID. But that's why you see people talking about their original hometowns instead of where they live, because it would have all been like from Laguna Beach, from Sherman Oaks, from
Right.
Van Nuys. Yeah.
So my final Jeopardy question
Yes.
is, so Jimmy calling you champ the whole time, right? After your 5th episode, where he's like, all right, loser, this way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, luckily it's the end of everyone's day, so there's nothing to do. Everyone's going home. So they just did that quick interview with me. They did 2 interviews in a row. One where they're acting like I'm off of my 1st win and talking about it. One where they're acting like I'm off my 4th win.
Did you have to put your clothes back on from the other thing?
No, that's the thing is I was like, when you guys air this after the 1st episode, people are going to know, or wait, when they air it after, I was like, this might give away whether I win or lose to people at different days if they can see this other outfit, you know?
So you had to so that's interesting. I always wondered about those like little interview things.
Yeah.
You got to pretend that you're in this other moment in the timeline.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm wearing my day 5 clothes, but I'm acting like I'm in day 1. Then I'm acting like I'm in day 4. I didn't have a good, when she's like, what are you going to spend the money on? I hadn't thought about it at all, because I was hoping I wouldn't have to think about it, because realistically, I'm going to spend it on living next year, because who knows what 2021 is going to bring as far as COVID and jobs go. But I said a new guitar, because I haven't bought a new electric in like 20 years. So I was like, $94,000 buys more than a guitar, Andy. You got to have a better. But I can't say travel, because there's no travel anymore. So what are you going to say? You know.
You could have said something like,
you should have said Tootsie Rolls or something like that. You should have made it funny. I'm
going to buy a swimming pool full of Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the Guinness Book of World Records and have the biggest stack of Tootsie Rolls you've ever seen. Gonna blow everybody away.
I'm going to get the best COVID mask.
Swim around in it.
I'm going to get a Coco Chanel, Gucci. It's going to be like Gucci Chanel mask.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
Yves
like,
Saint Laurent strap.
it's not going to be an N95. It's going to be an A100.
Thank you.
Say, I'm going to buy up all the PS1s in my hometown, and I'm going to sell them for double.
Yeah. PS5.
Corner of the market on the Oculus Quest. And
Andy, were you, when you didn't buzz in correctly, were you constantly swearing in your head? Like, you know,
oh yeah, you could see in some of the 3 shots, you can see me rolling my eyes, because I'm just like, come on, man. What do I
really?
have to
You're
do here?
kind of just like,
I'm just like, I know this. I can't. Yeah.
oh, man. And then when then it turned out that you didn't know that you would have got it wrong, were you kind of thinking, oh, okay, good thing I didn't get
Oh
it.
yeah. That happened like 3 or 4 times when I was like, oh, I was going to confidently buzz in. And then one times, like there's so few times you get in, there's stuff I didn't know. And I got to buzz in anyway. And then I get it. And I'm like, well, I don't know. But none of those were too big. Like I did lose $5,000 or $10,000 in total for not getting recant. I said renounced. And it's funny because like since that taped, the word recant has been in the news a bunch because of like Trump election people, you know. So if it had happened now, I'd been like, yeah, recant, obviously. And then I buzzed in for a couple where I forgot the actual category, and it would have like obviously made my answer dumb if I had paid attention.
Well, look, we're going to talk to you more because there's so much more to dig into here.
Sure.
But as for now, we're going to wrap up the main episode. Andy Wood, as mentioned earlier, is a stand-up comedian and a podcaster, comedian as well. And check out your podcasts. Once again, mention them.
Oh, yes. Probably Science is the one I do with Matt Kirshen. It's been going for 8 years or so. And then there's one I like a lot that I haven't done in a couple of years. We're going to bring back called Twinsies that TJ Chambers and I do. We talk about twin movies like Deep Impact and Armageddon, like why that happens. The same movie comes out twice in a year, you know?
Right.
So many times, yeah.
And then your social handle is Andy T. Wood?
At most things, it's Andy T. Wood. Yeah, if you look for that, you'll find me on anything you want to find me on. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And
you got to mention, Brett?
Well, we'll just say this. I mean, where can people find you, Doug?
Oh, you can find me at Doug Pound at all social medias, pretty much. And check out Office Hours on Thursdays at 10 a.m. PST. Yeah,
as for me,
YouTube.com/Tim Heidecker.
And as for me, you can find me, Brent Weinbach, on YouTube, or Brent Weinbach Comedy on Instagram, or Brent Weinbach on Twitter. And also, if you're interested, I coincidentally interviewed another a 5-day champion on Jeopardy on a different podcast I do very sporadically called Pointed Questions. So if you look up game show, the game show episode of Pointed Questions, I interviewed Stefan Goodrow, who was a 5-day champion and also went on
person
to the
than I
champions.
am, and yeah.
What? It was a
Also
different.
cool.
It was a little bit of a different experience, but very also similar in a lot of ways too.
Also, if you want to keep listening with Andy and all the other podcasts, and if you want to get instant access to the After Dark episodes, go to patreon.com/Poundcast.
And one last thing, thank you to Chloe Bonilla, Jack Birch, Nathan Pittman, and Jackie Montana for helping us out. And Alberto is Jack Birch's social media.
Yeah, they help us out. Check out the Poundcast on Instagram and just check it out. And we'll see you
Check it out all over the place.
Just look it up. You'll find it. And see you next week on
The Poundcast.